Alright.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inside Asperger Studios. I'm joined today with the incredible Daniel Jones from the Aspie World. Say hello, Daniel.
Hey man, how's it going?
All right. First off, I gotta ask you, what came first, mentoring or your YouTube site?
Um, oh goodness. Well, YouTube definitely came first, but it was only because I did it by accident. So I put up some videos and it kind of the whole thing was just a complete accident. But before I got into the whole advocacy thing.
How did you get into the whole advocacy thing while we're talking on that subject?
I think it was just like gradual progression because when you're faced with something, you put videos out in the genre of helping people, which is exactly what I started doing. Generally advocacy is advocating for people who need help, and so I decided that my channel and my voice could be
Mm-hmm.
used to help people, and so then I just kind of started doing talks and videos and doing everything I could really to raise awareness, help, support, and yeah, build understanding.
You really got quite a following, I have to say that. I mean, you're huge on YouTube with the advocacy and your videos.
Yeah, I mean it's growing. Oh yeah, it's growing really well. I mean, it started, I started with no followers at all, which is, typically where everyone starts. But now, if we look at numbers, we've got 139,000 followers on YouTube. We've got 130,000 followers on the podcast. We've got 20,000 on Instagram. We've got 22,000 on Facebook, 10,000 on Twitter. Not to mention we've got a blog as well. So yeah, I mean, we've got a mailing list with thousands on there. So yeah, it's growing really really well.
I just have to say, I'm very proud of you from one Aspie to another. I mean, you really are helping people out there.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's like my kind of goal, like my motto. If you were to sum up what I do, it's trying to make people feel less alone. That's typically what I'm doing.
Both you and Jessica from How to ADHD, I mean, are doing a superb job of getting that message out, like letting people know you're not alone.
Yeah, I mean, Jess is great, isn't she? She's one of my good friends, and she's great. She does a lot of work, and I speak to her quite regularly. Yeah. One moment, I just have to move my dog. Hold on.
Okay, not a problem.
There we go. The joys of working from a home office.
Yeah, I've been trying to get a hold of her to do a talk with her, but I haven't heard back from her. And then she gets hit with for losing her mother. I mean,
Yeah, that was quite hard. Yeah.
I've been down that road. I lost my father in 2017, so I know how she's
Oh, I'm
going
sorry.
through it. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of meeting your mother a couple of times when we were in LA. So yeah, it was quite a shock. I will ask Jess. I'll send her a text message and ask her if because sometimes her emails get lost in translation, and I've had this conversation with her before where I've sent her emails and then she's like, I didn't get it. So yeah.
I understand how that goes. A question I'd like to ask you is, how do you handle your ASD and your ADHD? As we both have all the same symptoms, but everyone's quite different in how they handle them.
I wouldn't say. I mean, it's difficult. Sometimes I handle it really well. Sometimes I don't handle it really well. So I try. I've almost been a year without having a. Well, I have. It has been over a year without having a full-on meltdown, but like I, I've had little episodes, little spurts. I think one of the things that I find really difficult to handle is hitting myself in the head. I don't know if you have this, so it's really
I do
difficult
that.
to. Yeah,
I
and
get
it's kind of like yeah.
I get that a lot when I get frustrated. I
Mm-hmm.
just hit myself in the head, and I was always wondering where that came from.
Yeah, it's definitely it's to do with autism, and it's weird because it's impulsive. It's not something that you can control, and so that really it kind of bums me out because I try my best not to do that because it's almost like a state of self harm, right? And I don't want to do those things, but when it happens, then I feel kind of really deflated, like I let myself down. But in terms of managing, I actually use a lot of apps. I use a lot of different tactics. It is exactly what my videos are all about, right?
Hmm.
And funny enough, I've just finished. I've just recorded a course specifically designed for going deeper into kind of like how I cope with things, and it's called Inside Autism, and I'm launching that very soon. And but you know, we're not at the launch stage yet. We'll be in about a week or two. But yeah, I find that like without an iPad or an iPhone, my life would be very challenging, and especially living with somebody else. You know, having somebody
Mhm.
to coexist with, because my girlfriend does a lot of stuff, and she said yesterday, like, you know, if she wasn't sharing the house with me, then I'd call the place to be a mess and it'd be disorganized, you know, all of those kind of things. So yeah, there's a few variables that help. What do you do? What kind of stuff do you use?
Speaking of apps, I mean, you've promoted an app in your in the video you did on applications for autism,
Yeah,
and I got it from, actually, I don't know if you've seen her before. Have you heard of Yosemite Sam?
yeah, I know some. Yeah,
Well, I've watched her video, and she did one on Timo.
yeah, we work closely with Timo, both of us do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I literally started using that, and that's been a huge help for me because there have been times I've walked into the washroom, I see my toothbrush there, and it doesn't connect the dots. Like, hey, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Now with Timo, it's like, oh, time to shower, time to brush teeth, time to get dressed, time to
Mhm.
take my medicine, and
Mhm.
it's spot on every time.
Every time. Dude, I feel exactly the same. You know, if I didn't have those alerts on my phone to say, take your medicine, my meds, I wouldn't be taking my medication. Like every day I forget. Like every single day I forget to do those things. But like having somebody, it's almost like having somebody to like remind you, like, hey, I got your back. Remember to do this, right?
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people kind of get annoyed when you have to like have subscription based apps, you know, where you pay like, I don't know, it's like £20 a year or something for the app. But like it's really on the grand scheme of things, you know, I pay more than that to have this use, you know what I mean? Somebody to
Yeah.
imagine you had to pay someone to live in your house with you to tell you to do something. It'd be
Yes,
crazy, right?
it would be crazy because it would be like your mother constantly helicoptering over you, going, "Wake up,
Yeah.
take your medicine, wake up, time to get dressed,"
Yeah.
and
Use
it's
your
nuts.
breakfast. Yeah.
But yeah, Timo's been a great help to me. I even reached out to them and said, "Hey, I was interested if you guys want to sponsor me. Here's my blog," because I know they're a small company. Because I know they're in the Netherlands, so when I'm trying to get help from them, it's like I'll message them during my daytime, and then they'll answer me in the middle of the night. And I didn't
They're
realize. Go on.
Yeah, no, you know, it's funny. I've been to their offices in Copenhagen. I did a vlog on it. I don't know if you've seen that vlog, where I went to Copenhagen to film an advert with them, and that was really fun. I mean, I was only there for like a couple of hours. I think I was there for about 6 hours, and I flew out, went to Copenhagen for like 6 hours, and flew back home. It was crazy. But I got to meet every single person who's on the team. They're really nice, and they're really about supporting like autistic creators. And I definitely think they'd sponsor something like a blog. You know, I think it's definitely something that's down their alley.
Hmm.
So definitely reach out to them again and just say that, you know, maybe share this episode with them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because I do love what they're doing, and they're really nice people.
They're lovely people.
Yeah, I
Really
mean,
are nice people.
I was talking with her name was Charlotte, and I'm like, why am I having problems with using it? And she's like, are you using Chrome? I'm like, no, I'm using Firefox. And she's like, well, that's your problem right there. We are a small company. All we know how to do is program in Android in Chrome. So use
Right.
Chrome for now on to use our calendar, and you should be able to do things. And I started using Chrome, and it's like a miracle. Things start working right. I'm able to move things around, and I'm able to create routines and drag them.
Crazy good, right?
It's a crazy app. I mean, for the price you pay, it's well worth the money for those of us on the spectrum.
Oh, 100%. Like that's what I love about Timo. Like the it's just so good. But the name Timo kind of is the only thing I find really odd about it, because I don't know what Timo stands for. I don't know what that means, you know, maybe it's a Denmark thing, but I don't know. But the funny part about it is yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, it's such a good app, especially for everybody who needs to use it. Just like I just like that thing of having like reoccurring routines. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can just do it once and you say, I'm going to do this. And what I like about it is that I have my logistics assistant, Alex, who's been in a few videos with me. He has access to it as well. So when we're going away to do events, we're flying out and stuff, he then kind of logs in and puts in like meetings and stuff like that. So just so good. So good.
Now, on to another question. How does the UK deal with autism in the general? I know you guys are a lot more forward than we are. Are they more
Well,
accepting?
yeah, well, the UK is a smaller country, So if we look at statistic-based measurement, when in the United States you have 1 in 60 kids on the autism spectrum, but in the United Kingdom you have 1 in 100 kids on the autism spectrum, or people diagnosed. I keep saying kids, but people diagnosed on the autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, considering the population is a lot smaller here, I mean, vast amount smaller, there is a bit more maneuverability with things. You've got more room to create help and support patterns because you can reach more people with minimal effort. So we have a bunch of different ones that do really good stuff. You've got there's an organization called Ambitious About Autism, and they're pretty good. And they do a lot of good work. And there's also what I call the gold standard, which is the National Autistic Society. And they're kind of like, they're quite intertwined with the government as well. They do a lot of work with the government. And I do a lot of work with the National Autistic Society. And with that, I feel like they provide a lot of support, information, and like a check-in point. So if you've got an issue, you think, well, who could help me with this? Well, I'll phone the National Autistic Society and ask for their advice. And I think that's what everybody needs, and I think that's really good. But what I'm trying to do with the Aspie World, what I'd love to be able to do, is create, Aspie World, support centers all across the world, and especially starting in the United States. I'd love to do that, and I'd love to create a fund for things like, we could fundraise for a fund to then support kids who may need iPads to talk or communicate, or kids who may need help with a diagnosis, because I know in America you have to pay for all your healthcare, and it's a very expensive endeavor. But here in the United Kingdom, we have a national insurance where we pay every year, a fee, which is very, very minimal, but we get access to every kind of help from our medical standpoint. So having to advocate in America would be really cool. But yeah, the United Kingdom is pretty good. It's not amazing, not by a long shot, but it is definitely a lot better than a lot of places I've seen. And I think like Australia and Canada have some of the worst support available for autistic people.
That is great to hear. Now, here's a question for you in general. Have you ever gotten in trouble with with not having a filter, with like just saying something that you shouldn't have said in one time or another? Has it caused a fight between you and your girlfriend?
Oh my goodness, that's a loaded question. But yeah, all the time. Like obviously I don't know what the best things to say. Pretty much every day my girlfriend says, you can't say stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll say something. My friend's like, oh, you shouldn't be saying that to people. I'm like, oh, shoot. And so, I mean, in general, it happens like all the time, Like I have no idea what is or isn't an appropriate thing to say. And like, for instance, I don't know. It's a bit. Well, we were at my partner Naomi. Her mum was getting engaged, and we were on the beach at the time when her partner proposed to her. And so then I just said some stuff. I was like, oh no, I said some stuff, and it was kind of like rude apparently, but yeah, everyone was like, oh, and it's on video as well, so everyone was like filming this engagement, and I said some stuff, but we all had to laugh about it at the end. But it was really funny because then I'm like, oh man, am I supposed to say that or not? I don't know. But it does
Yeah.
get me in trouble, definitely.
Yeah, it reminds me. I used to volunteer over here at the Adler Planetarium at one point, and we do what they have is every year or every third Thursday we have what's called a after dark, which is people come, everyone dresses up because it's a different theme every year. Well, I was
Cool.
volunteering once, and there was this older couple that was volunteering with me, and one day I walked up to him and I noticed there's music playing and everything, and I walk up to him and I noticed they're just leaning against the wall. And you know how you get that thing inside your head, you hear something that you think is funny, but you don't know if it's funny until you say it.
Yeah.
Well, I said to him, "Oh, look, you're doing the old people dance. It's called standing still." And in my head, it sounded funny. And then the woman really nicely goes, Reed, I'll get you. Don't worry about that. Now, what was nice is my supervisor at the time was an Aspie
Yeah.
as well with her 2 kids. And I told her that story, and she's like, well, she understands you, Reed, because she's a teacher. So that's why she came
Uh,
back with that remark. And she's
uh,
like, I'm glad you came to me and told me that.
well, I would have laughed.
Well,
Maybe
but
for the
my
worst.
mouth has got me in trouble too, a lot with my family, to the point
Oh yeah.
where I'll say something and I don't know if it's appropriate or not. And then
Yeah,
call my parents, and then I'll get bitched at.
yeah. Well, I think that's another thing. Like I always say to parents and people that like if you're dealing with somebody on the autism spectrum, like if one of your family members or loved ones or whatever, your friend, you kind of got to just look at the whole picture. We're not trying to like annoy people or rub them up the wrong way. It's actually quite on the contrary. But in terms of doing that, I'd say a good 40% of the time I can do that, without even trying. And a lot of people used to think I was arrogant growing up. A lot of people said, and I didn't have a lot of like friends because people would say that I was too arrogant, and I was like, "What do
Ooh.
you mean? I'm the most meek person you could meet. I'm not like walking around with this like leather jacket and like slick back hair riding motorcycles." So I was like, I don't know how you mean like arrogant. I don't. But people, it was because that I didn't have a perceived interest in their topic of conversations. So I was only really worried about my own conversational topics, which are like systems and stuff. So anyway, it is funny, but I think people need to kind of remember that. And I think it's doing things like this and talking about it is giving people insight. Man, this is awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any like super focused things you focus on, like that you get hyper focused on, like any topics you really are passionate about besides autism?
Oh yeah, of course, mate. There's two. I'm into one right now at the moment, and I love it. And it's kind of what I've been into for ages. I think it's like my new big one, which is like digital media, social media growth strategy and marketing.
Mm.
I'm obsessed. I love it. I love the systems in place. I love the way it's set up. All of that. I love it. And then the other thing is the 9/11 catastrophe in the United States, in New York. I know a lot about that, and I'm kind of obsessed over it. I could talk about it for hours and things. So it's really funny. Like, but that leads on to my main field of interest, which is kind of like conspiracy theories and aliens and like all that kind of stuff.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. How are you handling the pandemic yourself?
Um, it's it. Oh man, it's difficult. Like we went into lockdown, and then so we went into lockdown in May, like everybody else did, and then we kind of like it started easing up about 2 months ago, or about a month ago, and then now on Friday, tomorrow, we're in Wales, which is the part of like the United Kingdom I'm in, is impending it's putting in another lockdown for 2 weeks, which is all over Halloween. It's over Bonfire Night, which is Guy Fawkes Night here in the UK. I don't know if you've heard of Guy Fawkes Night, but
Oh yeah.
and yeah,
I don't
so it's
know if
kind of like. Huh?
go on.
No, no, it's because it's kind of bummer. So all of the cool things they kind of put a dampener on. But in terms of coping with it, I've taken to a rigid structure of working out 3 days a week, on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then I do yeah, I'm just in, and then we have like we kind of went OTT with like schedules. So we scheduled out all our meal plans for the week, and then we scheduled out all our workouts. And then yeah, I think sticking to that really helps me. We even plan out our snacks and stuff in the evening. So like doing that really helps me kind of stay on board because I know that's taken care of. Then I can deal with all the other kind of like mental health part where it's heavy being in the house all the time and you can't go to the store and if you wear a mask, you have to wash your hands, you keep your distance. And then my family members got COVID and then they got really sick and they were in hospital, and all that stuff. It's like
Yeah, I know what Guy Fawkes Night is because in 2014, I had the pleasure of living in your country for a year to get my master's in Canterbury, England.
mm,
And I
wow,
loved
that's
it.
cool.
And I
It's a
loved
cool.
being in England because it was just more of a laid back feeling. No pressures. It just felt relaxed. People
Yeah,
were
it's there you go. Sorry.
The people were nice. It was just a little different. I mean, for someone like me dealing with all these different accents and people of different cultures, it was just almost like a culture shock to me.
Yeah, it's a good place over here in the UK. I think like you know, I don't know. We've got such a we're quite. I don't know if the word is blasé, the term, but we're kind of like, yeah, oh, jolly, tally ho, let's get on with it, jolly good. And it's kind of like we just get on with things, And I think that's kind of like this resilience of the British, and I think because of that, everything is kind of quite more laid back and just it is what it is. You know what I mean? British people are overly polite as well. So
What
we're
I
like
find
the only.
what I find funny is some of a lot of the British people I talk to are like, "Oh, we want to get out of there. We want to move from England to the U.S. where you want to move to here." I'm like, "Why?"
Grass is always greener. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I think, and just to answer that, well, just to chime in on that before we get on to the next thing, I think like because like when you're in a situation that you've been in your whole life and you're not happy with that situation, the grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence because you never really know what you have and you don't
Hmm.
really value that enough until you change it. And I've been all over the States, and I've been to the UK, and there are parts of the United States where I'm thinking, wow, I'd love to live here. Like Nashville was great and San Francisco was incredible, but like places like Los Angeles, unless I was in Calabasas or like Beverly Hills or Hollywood, I don't think I'd live in LA because like it's crazy. But I think it's just people who perceive something to be a certain way. Like the first time I went to New York, I was like, whoa, what a dump. It's so dirty. And like, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe you see it on the TV and it's like all glitzy and glamorous, and they're all showing you like like I don't know, like the Macy's and
the better side of everything.
yeah, they show you the village in the Upper West Side or whatever. Nobody ever shows you like downtown Manhattan or like the amount of projects that are there, And I think like that was really eye opener for me, and it kind of really made me realize that maybe and the other thing is healthcare, man. The UK has a great healthcare system. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic, and and God bless it, man. It's fantastic. We actually did a thing because of the pandemic. Every Thursday night, we'd go outside and we'd all clap to say thank you to our National Health Service staff because these guys are saving lives daily, man. These
Yeah.
guys don't even get paid enough, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, I've seen that all over YouTube, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it was great, and yeah, the NHS is just I love it. I was born in the NHS. I've had all my operations on the NHS. The staff are amazing. The treatment is high quality, and we have low waiting times in the US, and you guys pay for it. So yeah, anybody who tells you any different is lying.
Yeah, but when you made one of your current videos, I'm glad you put up was the one called disability. I mean, that's a huge misnomer in the Aspie world. Is there are
Yeah,
those that don't want to call it a disability because they're afraid if they call it a disability, it means there's something wrong with them.
yeah,
I
like
had
a
a
taboo.
chat. I have a chat with a friend of mine a while back I met through one of the Facebook groups. And the story goes, I was talking to her. I'm like, there are people out there who don't like calling it a disability. And she's like, well, they can call it what they want. They can call it a pink purple that elephant, but it's still a disability.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And people
Oh,
don't even, I've also come across people who don't like the word Aspie either.
oh, I know. I've come across those as well. And people, because I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and then so people don't like me using that as well. I'm like, well, it's not up to you, really, is it? It was up to the people who put it on my diagnostic paper. So yeah.
Yeah. And then there are the people who don't like the word Asperger's because of who came up with the term.
Well, it's actually funny. I mean, and then that's another kind of a misunderstanding. Hans Asperger, who was the Austrian, physician, like he didn't even come up with the term Asperger. He died in 1982, and then it wasn't until after he died that they started calling the diagnosis of that less of support needed autism Asperger syndrome. So he didn't even name it. It was just named after him. But I think people kind of don't like it because of his whole Nazi kind of connections and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I did a video on that actually.
Yeah. One of the things I do want to ask you is, have you ever struggled with aggression before with your ASD?
Every day, every day, dude. I've broken this hand twice. I've broken this hand once. Broken this wrist. I've broken my feet, my toes, dude. Like I pulled my hair out. Like I've broken things. Oh my goodness, mate, you name it. Like I've just
Because
so
I got a friend I met through Facebook. He's got ASD, he's got severe ADHD, and he's got POTS and severe depression. And he deals with this all the time. And his aggressions caused him to break things, to hit things. He's self-harmed himself, and he's wants to know how to deal with the aggression. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
yeah. Oh, it's a great topic. Like I the aggression comes from the communication of understanding. So your brain is trying to tell you something, but like so when people are annoyed, they normally can express themselves by saying like, "Oh my goodness, this is this, that, and the other," and blah blah blah. But when someone on the autism spectrum gets really annoyed, it's like it takes a while for them to realize what's actually annoying them. But so what you get
Mm-hmm.
is this outburst of like like a nuclear explosion going on. And it's because of the communication mishap between how you're feeling your emotions and communicating that to the outside world. And I experience it daily. Like I had so many bad anger issues. I mean, I do take some medication for ADHD, and kind of like it helps with anger management and moods and stuff like that as well. But in terms of the big stuff, I actually created like like a part of the course which I was talking to you about earlier. A part of that is me teaching how to help overcome that, and the basic best one is the breathing technique of the yoga breathing technique, and that's that's the only one that actually works. Or taking myself away from the situation as well, so like completely like stopping it, and then like so say I'm like outside, no, say I'm in my car and we're packed up and I'm like freaking out, I'm like, yeah, getting really angry. If I just step outside the car instantly and walk 10 feet away, like it's completely changed the scene. So your mind kind of gets a bit of a reset button, and so the anger stops as much then. And that's a really good interesting technique to try as well, is to completely flip it somewhere else, and maybe you can pass it on to your friend, or even I'll send you the link and you can register for the free the free webinar, the course, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can watch that. That'd be cool.
How do you deal with your own anxiety?
It's a
Because
great
that's a big
question.
one for me, because like I have travel and anxiety, and
Mm.
my first time going to England, I was happy knowing I'm going, and then hit the airport and the first little snag happened where they tell me, oh, you can only have one parent at the gate with you due to 9/11, and I just freaked out. My anxiety
Mm.
went into overdrive, and I just broke down crying, and no one understood why. My father's sitting there telling me, stop it, you're making a fool of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, anxiety is a crazy one because it kicks your butt and it comes out of nowhere. And the best and the only, well, it's funny actually. There's no real cure to stop anxiety at that moment in time. So what I do is I try to preempt anything that could cause a trigger of it to lessen the blow. So in your situation, I would have read everything there is to know about going to the airport in that situation. How many people are to the gate? What happens here? And it's a simple thing to do, but you don't really think about it because you're not in the flow of researching every grocery store you're going to go to. You know what I mean? But when you start to do it, then it starts to become something that's automated, and you'll start doing it yourself, and it kind of builds itself. And so that's one of the main ways I kind of deal with anxiety, is I kind of prep myself a lot before going, and the prepping really helps reduce it.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's important. It's like kind of like what I said about knowing your own body, know your signals before to stop what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know you're frustrated and you know you're tired, you know your frustration's coming from being tired.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Um, Now here's a big question. I got a friend, my friend I just told you about. He's
Yeah.
dealt with two major failures in his life due to his Asperger's. He had two major meltdowns,
Yeah.
and they cost him his scholarship to college and his job. And he's at the point where he's hit rock bottom. What kind of advice would you give him to say, hey, listen, you need to pick yourself up and keep moving?
I love this kind of stuff. I also had a huge meltdown. One of the biggest meltdowns I had when I was in my job, and it cost me my job. And you know, you can look at it in one way. And I always say this to people, like, there's no real such thing as failure, because failure comes from, you say that when something goes wrong, it becomes a failure. Like, oh, it didn't go right, so it's a failure. But what I like to see is that it didn't go right, which means it wasn't the correct path. So it needs to be something else, like how can I explain? If you have like four drinks in front of you and they're all the same color and one of them is flavored orange, right? And somebody says, right, we need to find the orange one. And you pick up one that's just water, right? And you drink it and you go, oh, that's just water. You don't say, oh, I failed because I've just found the water. That's it. You go, no, you keep trying and then you find the orange one. You say, oh, I found the orange one. Great. You know, there's no such thing as failure. When something like that happens, it should realign you to go, oh shoot, okay, well that's not the way to go. I'm going to do something else. And what I would say in this situation is, it's a learning process. You only ever learn from failing. I don't like using the word failure, but you only ever learn from that situation, because it's not failure. There's no what, because failure is like a definite. It makes it sound like there's a finite thing. That's it. Failed, done. You're done forever. That's never like that. Nothing's ever done until you're dead. And so to think about things, how would you go about it? Well, you go, okay, well, I'm just gonna realize that that's an old option and that's not a new venture. And this is what I did. I looked at what I was good at in my life, and I like making videos, and I could make websites, and I could create content, and I could publish content, and I learned about how to distribute content. So I had a story to tell. I have a diploma in performing arts, and I have a national diploma in music technology and music performance. So I'm a performer. So I was able to host videos and act like a performer and talk to a camera in a way that's engaging. And I thought, wow, I could do this. So I did that, and I built on it, and I built on it, and then I made a job for myself. That is what I would say. What is he good at? Ask himself this: what am I good at? You look, and this is all I'll say, and this is how I'll end this. Okay, there was a very famous Zen Buddhist called Alan Watts. He's a very cool guy. He was a British Buddhist, and he used to work at Cambridge University, and he was a guidance counselor for the students. And these students were in like business and finance and all this, nonsense. And then they would come into him and say like, oh, I really want to. I'm worried now. I'm leaving college or leaving university, and I want to do something with my life. What am I going to do? What's going to be the best money? And I want to see the best job for the best price, and all this kind of anxiety. And he'd say to them simply this: he'd say, look, forget about money, forget about everything in life. How would you want to spend your days? You've got maybe 80 years to live on this planet, maybe 100 if you're in the lucky category. How would you want to spend that time? You're only alive, once. So how would you want to spend it? And then so one girl was like, oh, I'd like to be a horse rider or something. And he goes, right, go and ride horses, right? And teach people to ride horses. Keep doing it. Do it for free initially, right? Or do something else on the side hustle, and keep doing it. Because when you do something enough, you become a master at it, which you know because you've done a master's degree. And when you do it well enough and you do it long enough, you become a master. And when you're a master at something, somebody will pay you to do it. And that is exactly right. So I would say, forget everything he currently knows. Think about what he likes to do and how he'd like to spend his time. Do that and do it to death, until somebody will pay you to do it. And somebody will always pay you to do something.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with him is he's always comparing himself to other Aspies out there. And I keep telling him, you can't. You have several different issues that they don't have. And you can't say, why do they have jobs and why don't I? I'm like, because you have these disabilities that are crippling you. You need to come up with your own thing to become successful at it.
Yeah, I mean, compare and contrast never works, dude. Like, there's no way you can compare yourself to somebody, because we're all individual. We're all different people. I mean, goodness me, no two people are alike. Not even twins are alike. So, you should never compare and contrast. I know it's easy, but that's just your mind's way of poisoning you against your full potential. So don't let other people live rent free in your head. Why would you do that?
I mean, he's told me that his medicine that they've put him on is kind of zapped his inspiration. He's good at drawing, and I'm like, go back to him. He's like, I just don't have that inspiration anymore.
Inspiration comes from motivation. Inspiration comes from creativity. Creativity comes from motivation, and motivation comes from confidence. If you can master the art of confidence, which is a exploring self-awareness technique, where he looks at himself and he says, I am enough, looks in the mirror and says, I can flip and do this. that is what will change him, because when he's confident, he can be motivated. When you're motivated, you can be creative. When you be creative, you'll have inspiration, and that inspiration will cause success. So just start with confidence. His confidence will beam if he just allows himself and accepts himself and tells himself that he loves himself. Because I can guarantee you, he looks in the mirror and says, I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I can't do the thing. No, forget all that stuff. He was created equally. God made everybody with the same potential, the same image, and everyone has the same a chance in life to do what they need to do. And he's in a privileged position because he's alive.
Yeah. Speaking of inspiration, where does your inspiration come from?
My inspiration comes from the I get so pumped by things. Being alive is super inspiring. I know so many people who have died. And then I think to myself, my dad always says this line where he was growing. My dad used to dye his hair. He started going grey, my dad, and so he started dyeing his hair with this Grecian 2000 crap, you buy from the chemist or whatever. And then and then he stopped dyeing his hair with this Grecian thing. And I said to him, "Oh, why are you just letting the grey come out?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, to be grey is a privilege denied to many." And I was like, "Whoa." He said that there was a guy he knew that died in his 20s, and he'll never experience grey hair. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. So that kind of stuff gets me really pumped for life. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And every night when I go to bed, I do thank God, for blessing, another day, and being alive to experience this day. I give thanks to all the people who love me and all the people I love. And that kind of gets me to a mood where I'm in my head. I'm like, okay, what can I do? What have people done that are amazing? And I look at like people who just do amazing things, like Nikola Tesla. He made like Tesla coils and did like crazy stuff. And then I look at like the guy who actually runs, Elon Musk, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like so inspirational. I look at like Steve Jobs and how these guys built stuff from the garages, and like Google, and I look at all those things. And then I live in Wales. There's a huge bridge that crosses the Menai Straits between Gwynedd and Anglesey, which are two counties in Wales, in North Wales. And the bridge is built by Thomas Telford. And this bridge is one of the nicest suspension bridges you'll ever see. And it's a suspension bridge, and it's been there for hundreds of years. And I just look at this thing and I think, wow, this was built by people, and this came from a guy's imagination, just like me. Anybody could have that ability. You just got to find it. And that's where I get my motivation from. That inspires me to do stuff. I'm like, that guy can build a bridge. If that guy can make like a skyscraper, if Elon Musk can put people in space, then I can sure as heck make some videos to help people.
Now, what are your feelings about CBD and using it for anxiety and helping those?
I think CBD is great. I am a huge advocate for CBD. I also recommend people to speak to their doctors first, because anything you do, speak to a doctor, because the doctor's going to let you know if your condition will allow it or whatever, and we're all individuals. But in terms of CBD, I just think it's incredible stuff. I think like it proper chills you out, or gives your anxiety a bit of a break, enough so that you can have enough kind of confidence and stamina to go, okay, no, I am in control of this, and anxiety won't get me today. Like my girlfriend, for instance, she was like an anxious mess, like every day, like anxiety would, kick her butt every day. And then I said to her, try CBD, and she wouldn't try it for ages. And then one day she was like, enough is enough. I want to try CBD. I said, okay. So she tried the CBD, 10 milligrams of CBD every day. And it was like night and day. The difference was just unbelievable. She was like, whoa, it like knocked her back. She was like, this is incredible. She like finally felt like herself. So I think that in terms of CBD use, I think CBD is a great thing. And I think that everybody should definitely try it if they want to try an alternative for anxiety, treatment, but definitely consult with your physician or doctor first, because you don't want to kind of like, for instance, like the medication I'm on for my ADHD and moods actually conflict with a herbal or a more not herbal, but a natural sleep remedy, which I say calls 5-HTP. Now, I can't take the 5-HTP anymore because it conflicts with that. But generally you can just take 5-HTP because it's just a more natural way to regulate wakefulness, right? But again, luckily I checked in my doctor, because that could have killed me, that concoction. So you gotta make sure that whatever you're taking, no matter if it's a food supplement or something that's completely natural, it still may have different receptors or active site receptors.
Yeah. And well, I guess the last question I have for you is, how do you approach companies for getting like sponsorships? I mean, the way I reach out is I say, hi, my name is so and so. I am an Asperger's blogger and podcaster. Here is my link to my blog. I'd be interested if you sponsor me. If not, I'd be happy to advertise you. Thank you. Let me know what you think.
Sure. So, okay, so there's two types of there's two types of sponsorship. You've got inbound and outbound. So we take outbound requests, where you go out actively reaching for people who could potentially sponsor, which is what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll speak about that in a second. But inbound requests, which is when 90% of my my sponsors come from, is people who have the ability to email me, because I plaster my email address everywhere saying, hey, if you want to work with me, like sponsors and stuff, email me here. And I put it on every single social media front and center, because I say, I want to make myself available. So what a lot of people don't do is have their contact details available for people to do that. Say, I love working with sponsors. Please email me here. So do that straight away. In terms of outbound requests, we do some outbound requests every now and then. Actually, funny enough, how we found Timo was doing an outbound request. And what I would say to you would be like, this is how you should word your emails. Email and say, hey, your product is awesome. I love it. And I think it's great. And I also think that my viewers would find it equally as great. By the way, I run a blog and a podcast talking about these topics. I would love to work with you in some kind of capacity. What are your ideas? Let me know. So what
Okay.
you're doing is you're complimenting them, right? And you're telling them why you like their product and why it's good, which is what they want to. Everyone likes their ego rubbed. Then you tell them that your audience may also find it great, and then you say to them, "Hey, in exchange of me advertising you, we could work together in some sponsorship way." And then that way they look at it and they go, "Oh, this guy actually likes our stuff. That's cool." Because if you go out cold, it sounds like you copy and paste the email to everybody. And then no one's going to reply. And that's a big one. Don't ever copy and paste emails. Make every single email personal.
That's kind of like when you are applying to a college for your
Yeah,
entry essay.
yeah,
I've been told, don't just make it bland. Don't make it like a blanket email. Personalize it towards your specific
the
subject.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, in the school. And that's what I did, and that's how I got accepted to five colleges, and I chose the one I wanted to go to.
Yeah. Dude, that's great. I actually only applied to one, and it was lucky because they accepted me. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, I did the same.
yeah. I went through an organization called Across the Pond, and then they gave me all the colleges in England, and then I just created an email towards each professor in each program, and out of the five, I got accepted by four.
Wow, dude, that's sick. That's so good.
And then the only one that turned me down was King's College.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Their loss.
Yeah.
What did you apply to Bangor University?
No, I applied to Aberystwyth, Kent,
Yeah.
Swathguy,
All right. Okay.
and oh god, one
Oh,
more. Trying to think.
Cambridge.
No, not Cambridge. Don't remember what it was, but yeah, all four of them said, "Hey, we'd love to have you." And then I just reached out to their disability departments and said, "Can you tell me a little bit about your disability department?"
Nice.
Because I told them, listen, I
That.
have
Yeah.
Asperger's. I need help.
Yeah.
I'm coming across the pond to see you guys.
Mm.
And the one that really helped me was the one in Canterbury, because he's like, listen, we will talk to you every week, once a week, until you come here. And then we'll arrange a meeting. So he'd call me every morning, and we'd go through everything they need to be prepared for.
Wow, dude, that's crazy good.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, no, that's awesome, man, and I'm glad that you. Yeah, the same thing applies when you're looking for sponsorship. Just think about that. You're just looking to find people who are gonna find value in what you can offer them. So.
Yeah. I mean, I tried out for
Well,
one company, and they just said, I'm sorry, we don't feel that you're right for us right now.
well, you could always offer a trial basis. You could say to them like, "Hey, why don't I do like, um, I don't know, 2 weeks free promotion for you guys, and then you do 2 weeks paid promotion. That way, I'm giving you a couple of freebies, and you get them to contract for that. So nobody's missing out, and they're actually getting a lot more from the deal because you're giving them 2 weeks free. I don't know. There's loads of different ways, but if you wanted to know any more about that, you can always reach me on Instagram and ask me,
Yeah,
and I can
but
always talk to you a bit more if you have any questions.
yeah, I reached out actually to a journaling company and I said, hey, I'm interested in if you guys want to sponsor me or I can advertise your stuff. And the woman who replied back and said, hey, we'd be awesome to help you out. Choose a product from our website. We'll send it to you free. And I just bought 3 things from them. And they're like, sure, she refunded me one of my items and said, here, try it out and review it. And then later on in the emailing back and forth, she's like, right now we can't sponsor you, but contact us next year because you have a great platform and let's talk about sponsorship.
Dude, that's the best way to do it. That is the best way to do it. Creating relationships, actual meaningful relationships, and then proving that your worth is valuable. I think that's a good one as well. Yeah, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. It took me. It wasn't until I got about. I would say I started getting good payment for sponsorship when I got about 20,000 subscribers. Around about that level, yeah. It was good. It was good. But then obviously now having like almost 140,000, kind of like I get a lot. So I've actually just hired a manager.
Well, you're a silver button YouTuber, so. Yep.
I know this is crazy, man, and it's like it's not even heavy. It's almost like an aluminum like casing, and then it's hollow. It's completely hollow.
Yeah.
You see it in the back of it now. Yeah, it's cool though. I mean, it's nice having my name on there. But I don't know. It was kind of cool. And you know what's funny about it is by the time you work your butt off to get something that many kind of subscribers. And when I finally got it, I was like, all right, what's on to the next one? Let's get another 100,000 in. It's crazy because I'm just so like, it took you so long to get there. By the time you get it, you realize how little that matters and how much this matters, And so it was crazy.
I just have to say, I am so proud of you and what you've done for the Aspie World. I mean,
thank you, man.
I mean, the funniest story I can tell you is I got like my friend. I told him about you, and I go check him out. You might find his videos helpful. His reply to me is he's cute.
Well, I am damn handsome.
Yeah. But but your videos are very helpful. I mean, I've been watching them. I mean, I even voted for you and your whole math conundrum thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't heard, they don't announce the winner until the 27th. So we got like a few more days before they announce the winner of that. So I don't know who won yet, but hopefully, fingers crossed. That'd be cool if they win.
Well, that's the same conundrum we have here. I mean, I walk around my neighborhood and there are discarded masks everywhere.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's like, people, come on. If your mask breaks, put them in your pocket and go home. Don't just throw them on the ground. It's not trash.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one's going to pick them up.
No, I don't understand that. And it really bugs me. It's like animals are getting wrapped up in them. And, it's just it's horrible.
And then you get this whole thing with people fighting over wearing a mask and not wearing a mask. I'm like, come on, we want to get rid of this virus. Just put your mask on and be a normal human being and let's move on with our lives.
It's funny, like one of the guys who started the anti-mask movement in America died from COVID. So, but and I'm telling you now, this thing's real. My brother-in-law was rushed into hospital 2 days ago. He couldn't breathe. His heart stopped twice.
God.
He went straight into ICU, then went into the COVID ward because he had COVID, obviously. And then he's at home now resting. But I'm telling you now, this thing is a real scary, dangerous virus that can definitely kill you. Like some people, I heard a guy today say he didn't believe in it. He's not wearing a mask. He doesn't believe in it. I'm like, you don't believe in it. You need to just grab yourself, give your head a wobble, and really see what's going on. Because if anybody doesn't believe what's going on, I think they've just been reading too much of the Kool-Aid. I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, I talked with a girl or a woman on Facebook the other day, and she told me she lost her mother to this, and she will not. She is pissed off at our president. She's like, "This is on his watch, and she can't take it.
I don't even think it's him, because you guys got state level issues, and I don't think it's
Oh
Trump.
god.
I'm not even a Trump. I'm not a Trump fan, right? Don't get me wrong, but I'm not even a Joe Biden fan either. I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, but like in terms of Trump, I think like he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Really,
Yeah.
you know, he gets a lot of stick, and he does some stupid things. So anything he says now is completely non-valid. So you could do the best thing like he gave like $1 billion or something to autism funding, didn't he? He did, like, he sounded like an autism bill. He gave like $1 billion to autism support funding, but it's like you don't hear about the good things because he does so
No.
many stupid things that everyone just wants to tear him apart. It's like, oh my god. But yeah, look, and I don't think it's his fault. You know, I think it's China shouldn't have let anybody travel outside of the country with the virus. They should have kept a track on that. Then we should have closed every border. So everybody has to blame for this. Everybody should have closed the borders. Everybody should have acted sensibly and quickly as soon as possible. But unfortunately, we didn't.
I mean, like my friend was telling me, you guys have countries out there that are going back on high alert again because of the
Yeah,
numbers that go rising.
yeah, tomorrow, where I am right now, and we have this app. The NHS released an app called COVID-19, and it does this thing. It tracks your area, and when you walk past somebody, it pings you and tells you that they've got coronavirus if they have it. I was literally at home, and it pinged. It was like, you just been in contact with someone who had COVID-19. I was like, whoa, like it's
Oh,
crazy. But
it's
and it
the
changes. But
okay. I forgot what it's called. It's where it backward tracks to see who's got it, who doesn't have it.
it's called track and trace.
Yeah. It's sort of like what I have. We have an app out here called Citizen that tracks
Mm.
everything, and it's got part of it that does backward tracing to let you know who's got COVID and where it came from.
Yeah, yeah, Citizen. That's where people go missing, isn't it? Really, mainly.
I think. But yeah, yeah.
Anyway, right, dude.
Yeah.
I better go because I have so many more engagements to get onto. Hope
Anyway,
that's okay.
all right. Anyway, thank you so much for being on the show, Dan. It's been an honor talking
Pleasure.
with you. Keep up the good work.
All right, buddy. You too, man. And reach out anytime. It's been awesome. Take it
All
easy.
right. You too.
Peace.
Bye.